Hi everyone, I'm Allie. Join me in creating this toggle and chain waterfall necklace using gemstones, crystals, chain, some wire, and some head pins. So you get a great basic start at making chain link jewelry. Remember, if you need any materials, go ahead and look below the video in the description. That will get you a link that you can get all your supplies, or check out the advent calendar, which this is going to be a part of. So gather everything up and let's get started. As we get ready to begin this simple wire working jewelry technique, you are going to need some pliers. So you're going to want a chain nose or needle nose pliers. Make sure that it's flat on the interior. We have a wire cutter and we have a round nose plier. The wire cutter is going to have one flat side, one V side. Anytime we cut, we're going to keep that flat side down. We hold with those bent nose pliers. We make loops with our round nose pliers. We are going to start off with making our loops and attaching to some of our chain. So I have 24 gauge Potomac's silver plated wire here, and it is the dead soft wire. And I have some 4mm bicones in my Montana color. You're going to have to decide exactly what you want your piece to look like as we go forward then and mix in some of these beautiful labradorite. You can see that blue fire in there. And then the way that this works is the toggle becomes the center part of the necklace. So that toggle bar is going to fit through the toggle. You have your two separate pieces that then get put together as it goes around your neck, and you fasten it in the front of the toggle. So there's a ton of different ways this necklace can look, but the first thing we're going to start with is just the simple chain portion. We're going to figure out how long we want it on the neck, and we are going to link in some crystals along our chain and figure out exactly what we want the link length to be. So you can do the whole thing with these links. I'm going to do groups of 3 in my links and then do about 1 inch between each one of my pieces. So I'm going to pre-cut some chain. I know that I want to go up the necklace, that I want it about 32 inches, but I want about 24 or so to get to my toggle, and then it's going to progress down from there. In the back where my neck is, I want about 8 inches with nothing. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually grab my chain here, and I am going to cut with my wire cutter my chain as I untangle this off. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut that 8 inches. 8 to 10 inches, no beads on it, going ahead because this is going to be the back of the neck, so I don't need beads on it. And about 8 to 10 inches or so, go ahead and cut off that chain. From here, once cut off, I'm going to do my first little chain link section. My chain link section, we're going to do our round nose plier, needle nose plier, and our wire cutter. And the first thing we're going to do is snip off some 24 gauge wire. Exact amount, kind of up to you and how much you want to handle. I like working with at least 5 inches or so, so I'm not poking myself. The first thing we're going to do is create a nice coiled loop. And we'll put some links in the link below in that description to the video. That will also have some other complementary videos as well too. So if you want to do the same look and the same design and just do a little bit of variance. Also how to do these coil eye pins a little bit more in detail. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle nose plier and we're going to leave about 1/2 inch of wire, and we are going to bend that wire to the side 90 degrees. So you're going to have a 90-degree turn with that 1/2 inch of wire coming out the back. I'm going to put that into my round nose pliers so that if I'm looking at it, this long piece is running parallel with my body. That short piece is coming straight out from my chest. So it's going to look like that when you're holding it. You're looking at this bird's eye view from the top here. I'm going to bring the wire over top of the round nose pliers, that short piece, until it touches on the other side. From here, you want to take your pliers and spin them. So what was on the top jaw is now going to go on the bottom jaw. So you can see I kind of released. I didn't open up that loop a little bit. I'm simply rotating the pliers and letting that grip go. So that way I can get it on the bottom jaw of the pliers. That short piece now goes back 90 degrees. So you have this little coiled link, or that little link there. I'm going to link it into my chain, and you want to make sure that that last link of chain is not the one that was cut. And then from here, I'm going to hold it. Now, normally I'll hold with my chain nose pliers, but because of the way that it is in the space with chain, sometimes it's easier to hold with those needle nose pliers. And I'm gonna take that 1/2 inch piece of wire and we're gonna coil it once, twice, 3 times, almost like we're creating a little noose there right around the wire itself. Take your wire cutters, don't make it too small because then you'll poke yourself. Leave yourself a little bit extra. It's fine to waste a tiny little bit and cover your hand when you cut. From here, I'm going to put on however many crystals I want to do. 1, 2, 3. You have plenty of crystals, plenty of wire. I'm doing sets of 3 just to add a little bit more of a pop of color to this kind of neutral necklace, which can match everything. And then when I get to the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. This time I have beads there. So I want to leave myself about 1/8 of an inch there. Hold my beads this time, which was that long piece of wire parallel with my body. Hold the beads and turn the wire 90 degrees back. So again, we have that 90-degree turn. Only difference is now we have those beads below. From here, I'm going to go in once again, and that wire's coming out the back. So now it's a little bit longer. And I want to be able to see both jaws of the pliers. These crystal beads will be parallel with your body. That long piece of wire coming straight out from your chest. Take that wire, get it right into that crease that you made and go over the top till it hits the bicones on the bottom. Rotate your pliers, switching from the top jaw to the bottom jaw, and take that wire back 90 degrees. You're going to make what's called a head pin on the other side. Before we coil, we need to get another piece of chain in there. So this is where you have to decide how much distance you want between your beads. So again, in my sample piece, I did about 1 inch. So I'm going to go in here, and a good way to cut your chain is to find the end of the chain, grab a head pin from your stash if you want, and we'll be using the head pins in a little bit. Kind of hold up the chain at the very end with your head pin and then start cutting. I'm just going to eyeball it and say, yep, there's where I'm going to cut. And the chain is hard to cut. While it's hanging there, grab that chain again, hang it on that head pin. Now you have that equal distance hanging there. You can go in and you can say, all right, here's my next cut. They're hanging. It's hard to see when you have it hanging right there. Go in here and you say, that's my cut. Line them up exactly. Cut that extra wire. I try to use the back of the pliers as I'm cutting chain and continue to make some more cuts to link onto. Once you have that chain cut, you're going to take this long piece that you have in the back here, slide that extra wire. So slide the long piece of wire onto it. Open up that loop just a little bit if you need to and click that last soldered link in there. Hold your eye pin and coil the wire down towards the beads onto the design. 3 coils, good to go. Grab your plier, cut that down. If you have the tiniest little bit of tail, you can go in, and this is always my final check after the project, and just make sure that that's pinched down so it's not grabbing onto a sweater or anything. I'm going to continue side by side. So this again is the back of my design, and I'm going to say, all right, let me make my next little coiled link. So once again, starting out, making my loop. You can see how fast I do it. This is kind of just so you can see how quick you can get at this chain link process. Link it into the end of the chain, and I'm doing side by side. So I'm doing the right, the left, the right, the left. And that open chain is going to hang to the back. 1, 2, 3 coils. Cut off that extra wire. Go ahead, put your 3 crystals on. 1, 2, 3. You can do 2 at a time. You can do 3. You can switch it, do 3, 1, 3, 1. Go in here, leave about 1/2 inch. You can see how I'm cheating with my round nose pliers and not picking up my needle nose, just for a little bit of efficiency. Going in, grabbing my next piece of chain to hang down from this side, dropping it onto and into that loop, coiling down along the project. So before you coil, you always want to make sure that it is attached to the loop. So from here, I'm going to continue this design element, going down and making it about 20, 24 inches. So I have about 3 groups of my chain, or 3 groups of my crystals that are going to lay right before the chain. So now that you have the back portion of the chain, you can see that I'm modeling how long I'm going to keep it. You could do it shorter, you can do it longer, it's kind of up to you. So I have that blank chain in the back, then I have my 3, and I ended up doing a 4th set of my crystals. What I'm going to work on now is that center portion, or that bottom portion of chain, and adding in that labradorite, and then we'll go back and we'll attach it all basically to this toggle bar and see exactly how we want the setting to look. Another little important thing I want to show is as you're creating, I have the bead back here, and I'm just going to go in and kind of vacuum up all of these little pieces because you don't want them to get stuck in your hand as you go in and do more of these head pins. So what I want you to do is I want you to, if the vacuum's loud, so I didn't turn it on, but I want you to go in and I want you to grab some of your head pins along with some of your labradorite pebbles. And these can be all different portion to our toggle. So to start out, we are going to be doing coiled links as well, but we are going to use a bunch of chain. So if you have a couple scraps of chain, I would suggest doing 1, 2, 3, and maybe even adding a 4th that comes in out of. When I stretch this design, you can see a little bit more kind of the look that we're going for and how we're attaching our labradorite and our crystals to the design. Put a crystal at the bottom, labradorite at the top, kind of up to you. So I have chain here, just a little scrap that's left over, and I'm going to decide how I want to cut it. So one I'm going to cut right like here. I'll make it that long. Another one I'll keep a little bit longer maybe, and then I'll see which and how long the other one ends up. So at the bottom of these chains, I'm going to start adding my head pins with my labradorite. So grab out my labradorite pieces and start putting them on. So do I want the blue at the bottom? Do I want the labradorite on the bottom? Up to you. Just like we were doing with the 24 gauge wire, we're going to do the same thing with our coiled link here at the bottom. So I'm going to simply turn the wire to the side, make myself a little loop, and this wire is thicker, so you're going to feel that immediately right away, that thicker wire. Do that coiled eye pin, but this time it's head pin, so it doesn't have that link on it. Go into the end of one of your chains, click that link into that loop. Once again, do that coiled section. And I'm not going to worry about the 3 coils. 2, 1 will hold it. And I'm going to cut off that extra wire. From here, I'm going to look further up the chain and say, where's an opportunity to add another one of my head pins or another one of my labradorite pieces. Put that on here. I can do it with or without the blue. I like that blue pop in it, so I'll grab another blue here. Go ahead once again, turn that over the top, switch to the bottom jaw, find another piece of chain here somewhere in the middle, and simply pop that in there. You can usually hear a little bit of a click as it clicks on. And then so you don't miss these little rings, you are going to coil that into place. Now, if you wanted to just do a plain eye pin rather than a coiled eye pin, you could do that as well, open it up, but I like the security of that coiled eye pin. So now I have a drop that has 2 drops of Labrador coming off of it. I'll add a 3rd one. Then I'm going to pick up my next chain and I'll do more drops. I'll add in just plain crystals if I want to, or maybe crystal, Labradorite crystal. And I'm keeping 2 pieces of my Labradorite because the next thing I'm going to do is start to attach it all to the actual toggle and get the link and look right at that connection. Once you have all of your waterfall, your chain waterfall components and kind of link them up however you want to, like you saw here, I even actually linked another piece of chain to one as well. You can have fun connecting it to your toggle. So the toggle, the waterfall is actually going to connect, you can see here, to the toggle. The bar itself is just going to connect to that chain that we did. To connect the chain to the toggle loop and bar, I've simply chain linked one of my 4mm beads, then one of my labradorite on each side, and then attached to the chain. From here, I'm going to attach to that toggle. So to attach the toggle, we're just going to grab our 24 gauge wire again, go in here, cut it short, extra little inches, go in here right above with your chain, doing that coiled link. And this time I want that loop to be just a little bit bigger because it needs to fit in that toggle. So you want to make sure when you click it in there that it has room to move around the toggle bar. And we're going to coil this on here. So instead of linking to chain, you're just linking to the toggle bar. How cool, right? Nice and super easy. Cut that down, add a bead, create that loop after it. And here's where you are connecting just to that waterfall piece that you've created. Linking that in here. And then once again, holding and coiling along. So yes, this is a technique piece for you to work on your coiling skills and your chain link skills, but also just as much a design challenge to go in and figure out how far you want the beads to sit next to one another. So after I connect it, sometimes I'll reevaluate and say, did all of those waterfall pieces look great? Do I want to add an extra little crystal in there? How am I getting that design and how do I want it to look? So you can, again, have plain crystals that you can add a little color pop to. And I like to, after I have those little links completed, as I'm getting ready to add it to the toggle bar, just take inventory and make sure I have enough color saturated in the area. So once you have all of them on there, you pick it up and you kind of look at it and say, oh, I need another bead right there. You can pop one of those in with your head pins that you have. The other way that you can connect this is to kind of have fun with a little chain link as well, a little scrap. You can see I linked the chain around the toggle bar and then linked both sides of chain to one of my links that connected in to that single little waterfall component. So lots and lots of variety that can be done as you're creating and working with this necklace. Once you have all your links together, all your chains together, you simply put it on by taking that toggle bar through the piece. I like to have it that it hangs out at the front, and then you have your piece along the back, all chain linked, head pin, gemstones and crystals all together. Thanks so much for joining me for this toggle and chain link necklace. Remember, you can make it shorter because you have that toggle bar there, so it will open. You can keep it long. You could even make a pair of matching earrings. Save all those little chain scraps because you never know when they'll come in handy for the design. I can't wait to see everybody's variations, and make sure if you make any modifications or have any questions to comment below the video and we'll help you out, as well as you can help out other Potomac beaders by offering your advice. As always, thank you so much for joining in. Have fun with all of your Advent calendar projects and stay tuned for our next inspirational design.